I think in general, Quebecers have been told that you can solve the problems generated by the federal government and all the waste at that level by doing nothing. So Philippe Couillard and François Legault both told Quebecers, let's do some change. Yeah, we need to change this, but don't worry, there'll be no change. With the effect that you're stuck trying to manage healthcare and education with only half your tax income, and it doesn't work. And with the result that you don't control the borders, you don't control the immigration levels, and it has a direct impact on your capacity to integrate and to deliver services, you don't control the agenda. So it's been demonstrated by Philippe Couillard and François Legault that the current regime is dysfunctional for us and we need to change.
I've heard that a couple of times. I'm still not sure what one has to do with the other and being taxed and borders and... But James Mennie, I'm sure, can make sense of this. James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, so that was Paul St. Pierre Plamondon today talking about, I'm not exactly sure what. I know he was asked about falling now, because the latest Legault poll shows actually, if you factor out young people, support for a referendum or separation has gone down. What do you make of what he just said?
Listen, I've been listening to these guys for 40 years, giving various explanations to why it's necessary to crack Quebec out of Canada. But I think someone somewhere decided to do some very basic math and said, look, the number one issues for Quebec voters are the healthcare system and the education system. So let's link those to sovereignty, even though they have nothing whatsoever to do with sovereignty.
Okay.
Their funding has nothing whatsoever to do with sovereignty. But all of a sudden, you're going to hear Paul St. Pierre Plamondon, whose party, as you just pointed out, though, in overall Senate, they dropped 4 points. They're still in the lead, but not by that much. And they are the more they talk about sovereignty, clearly, the less people want to know. But so they're trying to spin it now that, if you want good health care, if you want to have a good education system, you will vote for an independent Quebec. Because if not, our transfer payments, and they go through the whole shell game of transfer payments, and we're losing this money. We're giving billions to Canada, even though I think the bottom line, even the Premier of Quebec said our net gain from transfer payments is $5 billion, right? But no, if you vote against sovereignty, you're going to be, and of course they're realizing now as the clock ticks and they get closer to the first Monday in October of 2026, they will be going to the polls on a question that they have boxed themselves in with. So I guess they're trying to spin that. As I speak to you, Aaron, I'm looking at some details of the Legault survey that was posted by TVA today. 68% oppose sovereignty. That's a pretty big number. 32%, which is even a bit lower than the usual 35 or 36, are in favor of sovereignty. And as you say, if you carve out young voters, that's even lower. But the reality here is that this poll that came out today, yes, François Legault remains as popular as anthrax, but the fact is he's still the premier. And even though he has an unprecedented dissatisfaction rate of 71%, we're stuck with him and his government for about another year. They're in third place, 17%, but they're still in charge. And as I said yesterday, the big question now is it's in the hands of the CAC caucus. How I know they're ostensibly they're all we support the premier, we're all on side. The fact of the matter is you can bet their constituency offices phones are burning up with people who are saying get them the hell out of there because 61% of respondents want him gone, want François Legault gone, and of course François Legault was saying no, I'm going to stay on. Don't you worry. This is just another challenge in my political career. But the really sort of strange thing in this survey is that if we look at it, PECs are at 32%. The Liberals have gone up 2 points. They're at 27. That's a 5-point gap, which is not too shabby with a poll that has a theoretical margin of error of 3 percentage points. That said, the PECs, despite all the double talk about sovereignty, Francophone voters, they got 40%. The Liberals have 17%. And I'm sorry, that's what determines the outcome of elections in Quebec right now. So would they get a majority? Yeah, probably not a super majority. But if there was an election held today, the PECs would win. And Pablo Rodriguez was asked about that today, asked about the penetration his party is making with Francophone voters. And he said, well, a year ago, we're that's 3 times higher than a year ago.
Yeah.
But once again, 17% is nothing. You've got to break out of the island of Montreal. You've got to break out of the greater Montreal area. That doesn't seem to be happening. Will it occur? thanks to the incompetence of Francois Legault, thanks to the increasingly amount of very circuitous explanations from Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon about the advantages of sovereignty, will people just default towards the Liberal Party of Quebec? That remains to be seen. But remember, Aaron, this party has been out of the game for 8 years, and they're going to have to try and make some kind of a comeback. Will these gradual increases continue over the course of the next year? We'll see what happens. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a very chaotic 12 months in Quebec City, as I say, simply because this government, yes, it was given a mandate to rule, in 2022. But at this point, every single survey, and I know we don't govern by survey, but the fact is most Quebecers want them gone. The laws that they are adopting are vastly unpopular, apart from this latest one concerning the unions. But the reality is nobody wants them around, and it's kind of scary thinking that, how desperate are these guys, or how petty are these guys? And this is nothing but a government that has really put itself on the map with its pettiness to do damage to Quebec before they finally get drop-kicked out of office. That's a real concern. But for the time being, as I say, the news is bad again for Francois Legault. It isn't exactly great for the Quebec Liberals, and it's kind of worrisome as well for the Parti Québécois. An interesting survey, all told.
Yeah, I think Quebec Solidaire is at the bottom of the list, which is interesting, right?
So, honestly, Aaron, I hate to say this out loud because I don't find them generically evil, But the fact is, I don't even talk about Quebec Solidaire anymore. And as much as we've had poll aggregators say, the next with these numbers, the CAQ could be wiped off the map. I think Quebec Solidaire is already gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just playing out the string. But the reality is, whatever led to that party being elected in the first place is totally gone. The fact they're pushing back on I guess I was almost about to say idealistic grounds, but in fact it's more dogmatic grounds going against this union, what people perceive as anti-union legislation. Some people might say it's pro-public legislation. Once again, shows that perhaps they're out of the loop. And I guess I'd rather be defeated and sent to oblivion with their perceived ethics intact. But the fact is, things are happening in Quebec, and I don't think politicians, whether they're left of center at Montreal City Hall or at the Quebec National Assembly, can afford to put themselves in that bubble anymore. People, I think, their patience is run out, and I think their patience goes a little thinner every day. They go to the grocery store and see their bill as they're walking home.
Just for 1 sec, I want to get back to something. We started by talking about Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. So he was asked, based on this Leger poll, right?
Yeah.
The fact that there, increased support for sovereignty, no, it's actually gone down once we factor out, and it's not just one poll. He was asked about that and whether that was a concern, and this is what he said.
We are not wanting the independence just for the sake of it. We want independence because we're underfunding our public health system, because there's no future for the French language if the federal government puts and imposes policies that are unsustainable. So there are reasons for the project of independence. There are benefits, such as existing internationally and making our own negotiations with the U.S., with Europe. All those advantages, we are putting them forward in something called the Blue Book. And the Blue Book has just started, and we do politics at the Parti Québécois based on what we ought to do, not based on the most recent polls.
Look, I don't know what the definition in French is for word salad, but I don't know what the hell. He went from healthcare to the French language in the same breath.
That's the thing. It's like to a certain extent, as I say, this is the new spin that they're putting on sovereignty. That it's not about our thumping our chest and calling ourselves, Président de la République or de la Nation Québécoise. It's a matter. We've got to sovereignty will save healthcare.
Oh, I see.
Sovereignty will save education. I'm as at sea as you are, Aaron, right, in trying to square that circle. And as for the French language, you can't go wrong. Listen, it worked for the CAQ for 8 years. Never mind what we're doing is illegal. It's going to save the French language, okay? And I got to tell you, Aaron, as much as I've been stomping all over Legault and the CAQ, Most Quebecers agreed with them for 8 years. I mean, listen, as a Quebec taxpayer, I'm happy maybe that some of them are waking up and seeing exactly what it is that they elected for the past 2 terms. But the fact is, this is not a government that snuck its way into office. This is a government that won 2 crushing victories. And the vote was not rigged there. And so maybe people are figuring it out. But I guess a big question for me as a taxpayer, and yes, quite frankly, as an Anglophone, will Quebecers make the same mistake listening to a lot of burble, similar burble from the Parti Québécois that they heard from the CAQ?
Fair question to ask, I think. All right, Jim, I want to get out of here, but I want to ask you real quick. So, Soraya Martinez-Ferrata says, hey, sit down, let's negotiate. Guess what? The maintenance workers went back. So I don't know how much of a gamble it was, but she does end up looking good here, doesn't she?
Oh, absolutely. It was a perfect gamble. It was a perfect score. And what's interesting is she has decided, metaphorically speaking, she's reached over, she's pulled in all those chips that she won with the maintenance workers union, and she's putting a side bet now. She's asking now with this increased credibility she has, even though she has in reality zero power to do anything whatsoever in this labor dispute. She is asking the drivers union to stand down. If they do that, I got to tell you, it's been a very, very, very good week for Soraya Martinez-Ferrata. And she's not even sworn in yet.
Yeah, not till tomorrow, right? Well, there you go. James Mennie, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.